Hello everyone. Today you will learn how to organize an email dispatch from your Spring Boot application. I will tell you about 4 different methods. You will be able to send a regular email, an email with HTML formatting using the Thymeleaf template, and an email with an attachment. First, let's go to the settings of the mailbox from which the emails will be sent. I will show you what necessary settings we need from Gmail. In the security section, we enable two-factor authentication via phone number. Next, we need to obtain the password that we will use in the application, but don't confuse it with the password for the email account. We type Google App Passwords in the address bar, click on the App Passwords link, enter the name of our application, and obtain a 16-digit password, which we then place in the application properties. Now we create the project by adding the necessary dependencies for Spring Web, Java Mail Center, and Timeline. We go to Application Properties and set the configurations for sending emails. Spring Mail Host. This parameter specifies the SMTP server that will be used for sending emails. The server smtp.gmail.com uses SMTP to send emails. The Spring Mail server operates using port number 587, which is essential for its email sending and receiving functions. This is the standard port for sending messages using TLS, Transport Layer Security, which encrypts data and protects it from interception. Spring Mail username is the username for authentication on the SMTP server. In this case, it is the Gmail address that will be used to send emails. Spring Mail password is the password that we previously generated, which is necessary for authentication on the server. Spring Mail Properties Mail SMTP off true. This setting enables authentication on the SMTP server. And the last line includes support for the TLS, Transport Layer Security, protocol for encrypting and transmitting data. I am currently creating entity mail. This entity will contain 3 fields. 2. The recipient, subject, the subject of the email, body, its content. Moreover, 2 is an array that allows sending an email to a list of recipients at once. I will also add getters and setters. Let's move on to writing the service layer. I am creating the email service interface with 4 methods to demonstrate 4 ways to send an email. Send simple email, send HTML email, send email with Thymeleaf, send email with attachment. These methods are without implementation, as this is an interface. Now let's create an email controller with 4 corresponding endpoints. The email controller will contain a bean for the email service. All 4 methods accept mail in the form of request body. Now, let's proceed to implement the service. The next step is to implement the service. In email service.impl, we will need to create a Java Mail Sender object, which we will call Mail Sender. So, the send simple email method should simply send the text. The async annotation indicates that the method will be executed asynchronously, meaning in a separate thread. This allows the method to perform its work in the background without blocking the main thread of the program. First, in the method, we create an object simpleMailMessage, .message equal to new simpleMailMessage. This object represents a simple text message for sending emails. It is used to set the parameters of the email. Next, message_setTo.mailGetTo sets the recipient of the email by retrieving it from the mail object. MessageSetSubject sets the subject of the email by retrieving it from the mail object. This will be the line that appears in the subject field of the email. MessageSetText. The method sets the text of the email, which it also receives from mail. This will be the text that the user sees in the body of the email. Mail Sender Send Message. Here, the Mail Sender object is used to actually send the email through the SMTP server. Let's check what we have achieved. We send a request to add point simple with 3 fields. Moreover, in the to field, you can specify multiple addresses within square brackets. I am sending an email to myself. We receive a status 200. That means everything is good. But let's take a look in the mailbox to make sure. Here is the email with the text that we sent. Alright, let's write the next method that will send an HTML email. First, we create a MyMessage object in the method. It is used for creating and sending MyMessages, which allows for sending more complex emails, including HTML content, attachments, and so on. MailSender.createMyMessage creates a new object that will contain all the information about the email. MessageSetFrom specifically sets the email address of the sender of the message. Next, recipients are added in a loop. The loop iterates through all the recipients stored in the mail object. Next, MessageAddRecipient adds each recipient to the email with the recipient type 2. This allows the email to be sent to multiple people. The setSubject method sets the subject of the email, which it retrieves from the mail object. The setContent method is used to set the specific and detailed body of the email. Mail.getBody returns the HTML code that will contain the body of the email. The text HTML.charset UTF-8 indicates that the content of the email should be interpreted as HTML, and it also sets the encoding to UTF-8 for the correct display of characters. And finally, the email is sent using MailSender. The method is ready. We send a request through Postman. The body will now contain text with HTML tags. We see status 200. We check the mailbox and see our email with a more beautiful text of varying sizes. Before we write the third method, we need an HTML template to create an email using Thymeleaf, a templating engine for Java, for dynamic data substitution. We created in the resources folder. Here you see a designed page using HTML and CSS. Pay attention to line 49. Here, Thymeleaf is used for dynamically substituting the username. Username is a Thymeleaf attribute that replaces the value of the username variable instead of the static text user. If Thymeleaf is not used or does not substitute values, the text user is displayed. Now let's proceed directly to writing the method. The for loop iterates over each recipient from the list mail.getO. The method can send an email to multiple recipients, and a separate email is created for each of them. New context creates a new context object for Thymeleaf, which will store data for dynamic substitution in the template. Context set variable username recipient in this context. The variable username of the recipient's name is added, which is the current element from the list. This variable, which is essential for the email system, will be used in the HTML template of the email to substitute the username, and will play a crucial role in ensuring the correct substitution of the username. String process template engine process Thymeleaf mail context is a Thymeleaf method that processes the email template. The template called Thymeleaf mail will be filled with data from the context, specifically the variable username. To do this, it is necessary to add one more field to our class. Template engine process is the result of template processing, a string that represents HTML code with the substituted username. Next, MyMessage, message create MyMessage. A new object of type MyMessage is created. MyMessage helper, helper, new MyMessage helper message, a helper for convenient work with the MyMessage object. It simplifies the setup of various fields, such as the email subject, text, recipients, and more. Next, the subject of the email is set, taken from the mail object. SetFrom sets the sender of the email, in this case, a fixed sender address.
Helper set text sets the text of the email. The variable process contains the generated HTML code of the email. Flag true indicates that the text of the email is HTML, not plain text. Helper setTo sets the recipient of the email to the current element from the list. And finally, MailSender send message is the command for sending the prepared email through the MailSender. This method helps in sending custom HTML emails with dynamic data for each recipient using process and ensuring objects required and null from my message helper and ClassPath resource. We send a request, but now with only 2 fields. We receive a 200 response and check the mailbox. There it is, our email with beautiful formatting. The email text contains personalized data. And finally, we will create a message with an attachment using add attachment. The for loop iterates over each recipient from the list mail.getter. In a loop, a new object, my message, and my message helper are created, which facilitate working. With my message, the following 4 lines are for filling in the fields of the email, the sender, recipient, subject, and helper syntax. Next, an object ClassPath resource is created, which points to the file hello.jpg. This file must be located in the ClassPath resource of your project, usually in the resources. The add attachment method adds an attachment to the email. The first parameter is the file name that the recipient will see, while the second parameter is the actual resource that will be attached. The method objects require non-null is used here to ensure that the file named is not null. And finally, mailSender.send sends the email through the configured mail server. Now I am sending a request with only the recipient field of the email. I receive a 200 response and check the mail. Here is the email with the attachment. That's all from me. Don't forget to like this video.